In C++, it is possible to convert among different data types, like from integer to float, float to integer, like this. That process is called type conversion, or more programmatically, it is called typecasting. So let us see an example how we can convert between data types. Let's say I am defining one data type, one variable of type integer, that is a. Let's give it a value called 10. Then let's have another integer, that is b, equals, let's say its value is 3. Now if I just divide these two numbers, what will happen? Both of them are integer, right? So the division will be also an integer division. That means only the integer part of the quotient will be obtained as a result. So let's see what happened. So even if I write like float result equals a divided by b, and then if I write cout result like this, if I do something like this, then now whenever I am running, I got an error for cout because I did not using namespace std. Now if I just run it, as you can see, that is only the integer part of the quotient have been printed. So 10 divided by 3, only 3 have been printed. Now if I change either of the number to floating point number, from integer, if we can convert either of the number to floating point number, we can get the full quotient, that is the part after the decimal also. So how can I convert it? The syntax for that is like this. So inside the parenthesis, the number that you want to convert to another data type, just before that you have to use this thing. Inside the parenthesis you have to specify to what data type you want to convert. So here a is an integer. I want to convert a to a floating point number. So just before a I have used float like this. And now if I run it, so this is, so now you got 3.33333 as a result, which proves that a have been already converted to a floating point number. Now this is not only between integer and floating point number, it can happen between any data type, but you have to remember that whether it makes sense or not. For example, you should not try to convert from a string to an integer. That does not make sense. So it is possible to do that, but you have to remember when it is making sense. Now let us see another thing regarding typecasting. So you converted from integer to floating point number. That's okay. But what about if you convert from a floating point number to an integer? Let's say, let me just comment out this cout so that you can focus on the next part, what I am writing now. Let's say I have a floating point number called f equals 37.6854. All right, so this is my floating point number. Now if I want to convert it to integer, let's say I am having an integer I equals, just like the previous way I am converting, inside parenthesis I wrote int and then followed by float f. So this will convert this line int f will convert this f variable from floating point number to integer. So what do you think? What will happen? Let us see the output. Cout I. So if I just do this and run it, as you can see, this floating point number 37.6854 have been converted to an integer, and only the integer part have been printed. That is, only 37 have been printed. So the rest of the part, that is what is coming after the decimal, is just lost. So this type of conversion is called lossy conversion. So whenever you are converting from float to integer, it is just going to lose some form of information, that is the part after the decimal. So it can happen from in many cases, and in that time it is called lossy conversion or lossy typecasting, something like that. So, well, once again, it is possible to convert between data types in C++, but you should remember when it is making sense. And also you should remember when the conversion is losing some information.